how you do one thing is how you do everything in life. So if I can teach at least one person how to do extraordinary coffee, then you live an extraordinary life.
What if the conversations we've been taught to avoid about sex, desire, and our bodies are actually the ones that set us free? Welcome to Sex Ritual Radio. I'm your host, Rose Heartsong. This is the show where sexuality, spirituality, and vital health meet, and where we explore the conversations most people consider oh so taboo. Each week, I sit down with fascinating voices exploring intimacy, relationships, healing, and human potential. Let's dive in.
Today, I spent the day in San Diego at a really fun event called The World of Coffee. And I know this is Sex Ritual Radio. We talk a lot about sexuality, spirituality, and vibrant health here. And anything taboo. And one of the topics that I am bringing forward into the world is coffee is medicine. And that in itself is a taboo concept. And I've noticed that in the world of coffee, it's either like the most obsessive drug or the biggest evil there is. And there's not really this balance in between. And so I am on a path in that. And I have found a fellow comrade on this journey of coffee as medicine and coffee as a spiritual practice. And he is in the room right now with me. And I'm really excited. We just met recently and we spent the day together at the World of Coffee. And so welcome, Jose. Thank you so much for being here. I have Jose Zambrano. He is a coffee expert and he loves to empower individuals through conscious coffee procedures and rituals, which I just love so much. And being intentional each step of the process to elevate the final outcome, which is a magical cup of coffee. And I just am so grateful to have you here. He's an author and a coffee expert. I call you a coffee expert, but we were in the world of coffee today. So welcome, Jose. I'm so grateful to have you here. It's been such a joy getting to know you so far, and I can't wait to dive into this conversation. So please introduce yourself to the listeners and share a little bit about your journey with coffee.
Hey, Rose. This is Jose Zambrano.
I said it wrong. I'm
sombrero.
Sorry.
I do have my sombrero right here. I have my hat. So, I would say I'm a coffee lover. And that doesn't mean that I actually drink coffee every day. I was telling you earlier today, I started drinking coffee at age 27 when I opened up my own coffee shop in Costa Rica. Sunny Playas del Coco, Costa Rica, west coast of Costa Rica. But that was my first coffee venture, actually moving out there, opening up a coffee shop, working directly with the farmers and doing everything that needed to be done to serve a cup of coffee. And from there, that was 2019 to 2022. End of 2022.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you. Your first cup of coffee was in 2018?
I would say I started drinking, there was a before and after. So yes, I started drinking coffee at 27, so 2019. Before that, I didn't really drink coffee.
Wild.
Yeah, surprising, huh?
Yeah.
Well, the other fun fact is I haven't stopped drinking coffee since.
We drank a lot of coffee today.
We drank a lot of coffee. I was there for 3 days. I was high on caffeine for the past 3 days.
Yeah.
It was a wild ride, but it was a lot of fun. Like you said, all the top leading experts and people in the industry, everything that's up and coming was at the World of Coffee in San Diego this past weekend.
Okay, going back to Costa Rica,
Yep.
You were in Costa Rica and you got into having your own coffee shop.
Correct.
And you weren't a coffee drinker.
I was not a coffee drinker. My intention, it's in my book, A Way of Cafe, by the way. I did write a book. I published it in 2024. And in my book, I mentioned how, the question was that I didn't drink coffee before. And for me, coffee was like non-existent until today. I mean, I can go days without drinking coffee. But then when I opened up my coffee shop, I realized coffee means something. There's a before and after. You don't have to have sugar. You can have really good coffee. And after I sold my coffee shop in end of 2022, I come back to the United States. I come back to LA, which is where I was born and raised. And one thing led to another, yoga practice, spirituality, different religions. And I came back to the coffee world, writing this book and connecting my spiritual practice at the same time that I connect coffee industry, business, transactions, and kind of intertwine the two. That's really who I am. It's the spiritual yogi that's always looking to take that conversation to a more profound, deep level. And at the same time, I love coffee and I love connecting with people and I love making a heart on your latte. And I understand the basics of, how to run a business or build a menu or train your staff, but with a more intentional, conscious mindset. So that happened in 2023. It was, I would say, a beautiful rock bottom. I hit rock bottom after selling my business. I was lost. I didn't have a community. I didn't have an identity. I didn't know what to do. I don't know if coming back to LA was the smartest thing or if I should go somewhere else. And so I found yoga. I found Ayurveda. I found just taking care of my temple, my body, conscious coffee drinking. This was in 2023 when I started writing my book, in March of 2023. And in April of 2023, that's when I started working with this beautiful family, the Gavinia family, which they're my employer currently. And for them, I helped them not only take care of their current customers, but also acquire new customers, which can be a coffee shop, restaurant, a hotel, anybody who serves coffee, food service, we call it. Anybody who serves coffee at a restaurant level, we can cater to them by selling them beans, coffee beans from all over the world, whatever they're looking for. So 2023, March, I start writing my book. April, I get a job, full-time job, 2 jobs actually, because I also work at a gym, and I'm still writing my book. For the past 3 years, I have not stopped living, breathing, and just being fully immersed in the coffee realm and in the coffee world. And 3 years later, here I am, world of coffee. And yes, I have the certifications, the Q grader, and yes, I'm a cupping, I can cup coffee, but I believe, as you mentioned earlier when you were introducing me, that coffee is a medicine. Coffee is a way for all of us because it's already in our budget. It's already in our schedule. We already get up and drink our coffee, whether it's going to a local coffee shop or making it at home, whether you have a ritual or whether your grandparents and family told you how to make your coffee, the point in your day to drink your coffee. It is an opportunity for all of us to tap into our most conscious, creative self. If we take a step back and we are conscious about what we're putting in our coffee, if we're conscious about how we're making our coffee, if we're conscious about our emotional state as we're preparing our coffee, but then as we're drinking it, then as the coffee gets digested, as the coffee enters our body, then our molecules, the caffeine will move our cells and our molecule in that intentional way. It's almost like you can have your own ceremony, micro ceremony, instead of going to Italy or Vietnam or Colombia to meet these, gurus of coffee or these farmers. Don't get me wrong, but you can do it from the comfort of your home, which I know a lot of us are doing already. But my book is all about that, bringing that presence. It's all about getting connected with our highest self during that habit or that ceremony or those rituals. That way we can start attracting and becoming the best versions of ourselves.
I love that. I think we were talking earlier, we went for a walk before we came on the show, and we just met recently. I was at a Heartsong event, which is, I've talked about it on the show before, and I've also had the founder of the events on here with his partner as well. And I was there and I was selling a jewelry line because I do a bazillion things. And I was connecting with a woman and she bought a bunch of jewelry for me. Her name's Jessica. And she was on the dance floor booging it up, and one of the pieces, somebody fell on her, actually broke it on the dance floor. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I was like, it's okay, I'll fix it, don't worry. And so she came over, and somehow I brought up my coffee book, And she's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then she went to Conscious Life Expo a couple days later and met you.
Wow.
And then we got on the phone and it just like really resonated and clicked. And it feels interesting because I also didn't drink coffee. I drank coffee for the first time in Thailand when I was 23. I actually had never drank a cup of coffee before I was 23. And I was drinking Americanos with fresh pressed coconut milk. They would like open up the coconut right there and like grind it and milk it and then give me the bag. And then I would take the bag to the coffee shop and have them steam it.
Wow.
And then have like fresh honey and cinnamon.
Amazing.
And
Superfood.
And so that was like that's how I had taken sips of coffee prior to that. It would make me really anxious and overwhelmed. And so everything that I do is intentional. Like all of the aspects of my reality are intentional, and coffee is no different. And I find in the spiritual community, a lot of times that people are like, I don't drink coffee. I drink cacao, or I do tea, but I don't do coffee. Or you go into the other realm where people are like addicted to their Starbucks, which Starbucks is horrific. I'm totally against Starbucks. I'm sorry, Starbucks, but it's true. I always get like stomach aches and like digestive issues from Starbucks. And so I was on this whole journey of intentionality, and I'm writing a whole book about it. So we're kind of like on the same vibrational frequency about coffee. And then we met up for the first time at an Ethiopian coffee restaurant to see a ceremony, but we didn't see the ceremony, which I'm still kind of sad about. We have to do that. Coming soon in LA. I gotta come to LA. And yeah, I just appreciate that you're so intentional with your coffee and that you're spreading the good word of coffee to the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of this. I like to say, even with my book and what I wrote, it's 81 poems. And I always say, I don't know where the information came from. I was just blessed and lucky enough to be the hand and to put the pen and paper together and allow the information to flow through. But you're 100% right. It's all about being intentional. And we've seen it across the board in tea ceremonies. I've actually been to one of my friends' weddings, and they had a tea ceremony to conjugate, to actually, close the ceremony of them getting married. I've been to multiple cacao ceremonies, the Aztecs and the Mayans and these prehistoric cultures that were using cacao as a medicine to connect not only with their highest selves, but also to connect with Mother Nature, to feel their bodies. And if it can be done with cacao, if it can be done with tea, coffee has the same antioxidants. Coffee comes from Mother Nature, and coffee is this caffeine is absorbed from the minerals in the soil. A little background on coffee. Some of the best coffee comes from actually volcanic soil. And what is volcanic soil? It's soil that was deep in the earth's crust that was brought up by a volcano. So it's even more ancient, which is just minerals of animals and plants and our ancestors, that just fauna and flora that just gets demineralized. And that's what the coffee plant is absorbing, bringing it up to the fruit, putting it in a little cherry and a little seed. We're roasting it, grinding it, serving it, sipping it, chatting around it, and creating magic all over. So
coffee's changed the world.
Yeah.
It's still changing the world. It's a huge staple in the fabric of our humanity.
Oh yeah.
And it's also it's the country, the United States of America. It's our drink, coffee, yes. Because the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party happened, and they were like, no more tea, anti-tea. And then when that happened, everybody went to coffee in America, and it became this foundational, when I think about coffee, I think of rebellious and radical and passionate and intense and fiery and alive and vibrant and fuel and but if you go back to the origins of coffee, which I remember, I actually don't drink hardly ever. And when we hung out for the first time, we drank honey mead, I think it was, or honey wine.
The honey wine.
So I was a little tipsy because I'm such a lightweight. Did you remember the origin story, or was it the Ethiopian guy didn't know the origin story of coffee?
Yeah, there's many rumors about the
rumor.
Yeah, there's multiple stories, the the monk and the goats were eating the cherries. They were going all crazy. There's also another story that I heard that it's an Ethiopian king gifted a couple coffee seeds to the French king, and then in the royal gardens they had coffee trees that then gets exported to the rest of the world. At the same time, there's another story where the Ethiopian a couple coffee seeds were smuggled out of Ethiopia in a beard and that's how it got out to the rest of the world.
The coffee bean is the seed.
Yes.
I don't know why I never thought about that until this now. Oh my gosh, my mind is blown. It is.
We're now roasting beans.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening who have never actually seen a coffee plant, they're these beautiful little, they can get big too, but green, leafy, shiny plants. Yep. And then they grow these little red berries, and they look like berries. Yep. And then on the end, it's like the skin, and they're not that big, but they're bigger than a coffee bean, obviously. And then inside the coffee berry is like this honey sticky stuff. It's kind of like
fruit.
It's the fruit, exactly. So I always compare it to like an avocado, right? So like the pit is equivalent to the bean, and then the squishy like avocado part is the honey around it, and then the skin is the skin on the outside.
Correct.
And so when we dry it, there's different processes that we go through, how to wash it and prepare it and all that kind of thing. But it's usually hand-picked, right?
Correct.
Most of the time?
It's hand-picked. The coffee that we drink the most around the world is Arabica, and that is mainly hand-picked. You can machine pick Robusta, but it's not consumed as much as Arabica, which is hand-picked, which is going to be more of your floral, fruity notes and flavors and aromas that we're used to getting in our coffee nowadays.
Yeah. And so we don't really think about coffee as like a bean or like a fruit, but it's technically a cherry.
Yeah.
It's technically a fruit, right?
Correct.
That's like so crazy if you think about it.
Yeah. So.
Because we don't it's never like correlated the same way. And I just lost my thought.
So we were talking about the cherry and the plant. And I mean, there's 100-year-old plants in Ethiopia that just forest. I mean, when I heard about this, that there's forest of coffee trees. Obviously, these are trees that never got picked or never got cut so that they're accessible. These are just wild grown trees that just kept growing.
That's amazing.
So there's trees that are over 100 years old. You can start picking a coffee cherry, or it's mature enough after 3 or 4 years, depending on the coffee on the coffee tree. After 3 or 4 years, it's ready for the picking, and then they'll cut them so they don't keep growing up, so that it's accessible to the farmer to pick the cherries. After picking the cherries, as you were mentioning, you wash the fruit from the seed. After you wash the fruit from the seed, usually water or natural process, then you go into the drying stage. And then after, and this takes a while, and there's different methods. There's honey, and there's natural, and then there's water washed, and there's wash process. There's different processes. But after it's dried, we have the green seed, which is just the seed of coffee, green. And that's when it gets sent from origin, whether it's Colombia, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Indonesia. It gets sent to a roaster, whether it's in the same country or the U.S. We are the biggest coffee drinking country in the world.
Really?
Yeah, the U.S.
I didn't know that.
We're over Italy. We drink a lot. I mean, we're pretty big as far as a country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. We're bigger than Italy.
We drink a lot of coffee.
It is true.
And then we roast the seeds. After roasting the seeds, we grind the seeds, depending on what you're going to be using the coffee for, whether it's French press, espresso. There's so many methods out there. Pour over, cold brew, for example. Depending on what you're going to be using the coffee for, will determine the grind size, if it's coarse or fine. And then you infuse water with coffee.
I remembered my thought. So let's go backwards to Ethiopia. So the story is, in what I've read on a lot of different places, is Kaldi was a goat herder, and his goats were eating these cherries, and they got a little excitement. And so this is the rumor, right? And so he took them and he brought them to a local monastery, and showed it to what's the spiritual guru, the like leader of a monastery, the monk,
monks, yeah,
the monks, and they like thought it was evil, and so they threw it in the fire, and then it started to smell good.
Amazing.
And then somehow they decided to take it out of the fire and somehow like grind it and put hot water in it. I don't know how they did that, but maybe it was like spiritual awakening, and they used the coffee for their prayer ceremonies to stay up late. And then supposedly it went to the Sufis next, and they used, so the foundation in my reality, based on what I believe to be true, based on years of study on my book, is that the foundation of coffee was used as a spiritual practice and with intention, and to be used as a tool to help in your devotion. That being said, it also was evil at the beginning as well. And I think that kind of current has followed coffee through hundreds and thousands of years, where there's like this, it's like the drink of the gods and then like the devil, right? It kind of has those two faces, and it has for basically the whole time it's been around. It still does today.
Yep.
I just find that really fascinating, but it also created like revolutions. It created like penny universities where people came together and would have a cup of coffee and would think and be like philosophical and think up the whole new world. And like, it's got this really rich culture. And I don't think we think about that when we drink our coffee. It's kind of like the majority of human beings are drinking coffee in a rushed, disconnected, disassociated way, where they're just like, oh, I gotta have my drug like to get in my system so I can function with my life. And it's not like, hey, let me have a relationship with this plant.
You already know why you are here. You're craving more. Maybe the sex you're having just is not nourishing you. Maybe you're bored or uninspired or just going through the motions of the routine. Maybe you want to explore Tantra. Maybe you want to try kink or BDSM, or just something you haven't even got the name for yet. You just are craving it and you feel it in your bones. Maybe you are having sex and still feeling empty afterwards, or just not enough sex and you're carrying this deep resentment. Whatever it looks like, you're just not fulfilled and you're done waiting for that to change. That's where I come in. I work with a small number of private clients, and we deepen and develop erotic intelligence and erotic communication, and I help people stop settling and start having the most expansive, pleasurable sex of their lives. This work is intimate, it's deep, and I don't take it lightly. So if you're ready, there's a link in the show notes to apply. I don't take everyone. We got to do a consultation just to see if we resonate and work well together, to see if I can help you work well with me, and we'll start there. And I really look forward to connecting with you and having that conversation. Let's talk soon. Let's get back to that show now.
We have relationships with other plants like cannabis. We have a relationship with mushrooms. We have relationships. Obviously, those are also taken advantage of in inappropriate ways by some people and respected by others. But I don't think that it's culturally aware for the majority of humans, or almost anybody really, to have an intentional spiritual practice with a cup of coffee.
Correct.
Like it is with cannabis. Like, yes, there's people who consume cannabis unconsciously, but it is quote unquote seen as a medicine, but people don't see coffee as a medicine.
Imagine you're drinking coffee and you're driving on the 405 freeway or the the famous freeways of California, and you're sitting in traffic trying to get to work and commuting. And as you're drinking your coffee, you're stressed out about getting to work on time. You're probably not liking the person in front of you that's cutting you off, or there's so much going on around you. And if you're drinking that medicine, the coffee, at the same time that all these thoughts, that all this anxiety, that all this fear is going through your body, it's not the coffee's fault, but it's going to promote more of that. So the whole point, and I have a 3-step, like not course, but a little workshop that I do at Conscious Life. I teach people, how to not get stuck in that automatic anxiety, fear, lack mentality that we can get stuck in. Yeah, because we're sitting in traffic. Yeah, because we got to take the kids to school. Yeah, because we got to do so many things in the morning and still get everything done. Life happens. We get it. But what if we think about, our most elevated, our most creative, our most conscious, our self? That's our ideal self. That's step number one. As we're preparing our coffee, or as we're sitting in line in Starbucks or your coffee shop or whatever it is, as your coffee is being prepared, you think of your ideal self. You don't think of the stress and the anxiety and the scarcity that you have around you. Like, no, we don't want to think about that. We don't want to promote that. We think of, I am creative, I am powerful, I am strong because I get to do all of this, because I'm connected, because I have a job, because I get to live in beautiful, sunny California. Then we must feel it. So how do we feel I am creative or I am powerful? Well, we make it familiar. I'm sure once in your life, Rose, maybe when you were a kid, maybe when you were graduated college or high school, you felt extremely creative or extremely accomplished. You bring that feeling, your past self, to the present, and you feel it head to toe. So as you're drinking your coffee, you're already going through, I am creative in your head. You're thinking about it. As you're drinking your coffee, you have this sensorial experience where you feel it head to toe, and you say, oh, I remember feeling creative when I started writing my book, for example. For me, it's when I launched my book and I was accomplished, And then the last thing, the third step, is how do we confirm and validate creativity or love or power in our present selves, in our world around us, right? So then we go about with our daily activities and we say, oh, look at these beautiful buildings as I'm driving through LA, how the design, for example, or look how powerful I feel getting to work 8 hours a day and then going to play pickleball with my coworkers after. We don't think about that, but our body allows us to do that, or do yoga or do an exercise class. We get in these routines, but really our body allows us to do all that. And we just remind ourselves, like, there's the creativity I was looking for. There's the energy. There's the flexibility. There's the power that's already within me and outside of me, and just reflected back at me. So you go through these 3 steps on a 21-day basis, and that which you are trying to attract, that which you are trying to become or be, that person, it's really not outside of you. It's really not far away from you. It's already within you. And coffee gets you there. Coffee moves you in that space. The caffeine moves your molecules in that way, because now you're no longer in scarcity. You're no longer in fear. You're in these altered states where you're comfortable, when you're in joy, when you are love, when you are grateful, and coffee will produce more of that.
So with my coffee ritual that I have in the morning, I put superfoods in mine. And when I do that, I sit with myself and I think about my day, what I need to do that day. And then I ask myself, how do I want to feel today? And then based on how I want to feel, I use different herbs to put into it. So like if I know I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to put cordyceps into my coffee because I know that'll like get me a bit like extra pump, or like put collagen in. Or another one that I put in that for the ladies out there, I highly recommend, if you're a coffee consumer, put shatavari in your coffee every day. That one transformed my hormones. Like, and if I don't do it, I feel a difference. Like I feel so grounded, so centered. My cycle is so easy and effortless. I don't have any like hormonal fluctuations that are negative, no cramps, no symptoms of PMS, like nothing. That one I highly recommend. It's an Ayurvedic herb, actually, talking about Ayurveda.
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of superfoods in, and then fats. You know, we've talked about this. I'm obsessed with fat in the coffee, and I need to find a scientific thing to prove it. So the thing that's very interesting about me is I feel it in my body, and then I find the science to prove what I feel. And so like for the longest time, I knew that like I could take the same coffee bean and drink it French press, and I would be jittery and totally off, like in my head and scattered. And it would be like a really high quality coffee bean. And then I would drink it and I would do an espresso grind and put it through an espresso machine, and I'd feel so grounded and centered and chill. And I found out later that it's the release of the polyphenols.
Polyphenols are great.
Yeah, and so in a thicker grind, it doesn't get released as much as it does in this a finer grind, and that's why I can do espresso. That's why I started with Americanos, and the coconut milk is the fat. So like the relationship of espresso, like the polyphenols and the fat, it's, I don't know, I don't have the science for this, but I feel like sometimes when you drink a coffee, you go like your energy goes up and then you crash, right? There's that kind of like energetic
like
up.
a spike.
And I feel like when I put fat in, it's like this wave of energy throughout the day. And I feel like so grounded and centered. I also love to put Shilajit in my coffee. Have you ever tried that?
No, I don't know what that is.
You don't know about Shilajit?
No, enlighten.
Shilajit is like this disgusting black tar that you don't ever want to taste by yourself. It comes out of Himalayan mountains and it has like 80 trace minerals in it. And it's actually a huge aphrodisiac. It totally like it's good for like hormones and libido and so forth. But it's like this gross black tar and you never want to taste it ever. But when you put it in coffee, the taste disappears.
Wow.
And it's so good. And it's so dense with minerals.
Yeah.
It's so good for a lot of things, but it really balances out. I think it balances out your testosterone levels. It's really good for testosterone.
You're like a medicine woman.
I'm really into herbs. It's in my book, all this stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's really important to get clear on how you want to feel. But I brought up libido and turn on, and I wanted to talk about like the intimacy of coffee.
I was going to say, this is what people are waiting to hear.
So in kink or BDSM, which is a whole like sexual philosophy I teach a lot about, I call it somatic kink, using kink as a form of therapy to overcome and navigate like chaos in relationship dynamics and so forth. But in kink, there's a concept called aftercare. And in the vanilla world, quote unquote, we are really, really missing aftercare. Aftercare is not something that's talked about. It's not something that's navigated. We have sex, and a lot of times people just kind of fall asleep and they don't have like an intentional, it's like an after sex ritual. Like when sex is complete, then you go into the aftercare. And aftercare in the kink or BDSM world is negotiated. It's communicated beforehand. Like, hey, what do you need after to feel like grounded, right? Because with BDSM and kink, the energies can get really big, and like just kind of like with coffee, you get really high up and then there's that crash afterwards. And so aftercare is that space to hold the energy and to anchor it and ground it. So a lot of people, want water or a nice warm towel or to take a shower, to take a bath, or to be cuddled, or like to make out. Like there's so many different aspects. It's a care, because it's if you care about that person, like, we live in Southern California, which is a deep hookup energy, right? There's a lot of like hookup culture in Southern California. And a lot of times, like if you're hooking up with somebody and they spend the night and then you go have coffee the next morning, that's an intimate moment together. And that it is a form of unconscious aftercare in a way. It's like that kind of like end of the ritual.
Kind of like a closing, yeah.
The beginning piece, right? Let's go. We went from the closing. Now I'm going to go to the beginning. I should have started with the beginning, but whatever. Coffee is like if you're on the online dating, or, it's this safe first date.
I agree.
Where it's like you can talk intimately, you can get to know each other. It's like the ritual of having the coffee, but it's not too much pressure.
Yep.
It's not like if you're not into the person, you can like bounce.
Yeah, it doesn't have to get any further than this.
Yeah, and so I know that you were asking people questions to prepare for this show. So I'd love to hear like your thoughts and your perspectives on that, because I do think that coffee is a form of intimacy in a relationship dynamic. But like I've never like consumed it during, but it's a good ritual.
Yeah.
And a lot of like, it's an intimacy thing. Like a lot of couples, like, somebody will bring the other person coffee in bed, and that's like it's a love language too.
I mean, I have a friend, she's so funny, and every time she drinks coffee and the coffee's good, not just any coffee, she says, I'm having an orgasmic experience. And it's an orgasmic, she calls it the orgasmic coffee. And not every coffee, but if it's made to precision, then she literally has a sensorial body experience. So to her, she would argue that coffee after sex is part of the experience, part of the sexual experience. You're still within that container. You can still share, you can still express yourself. We don't really talk much during sex, right? But then the coffee allows for those conversations to open up. And I think looking at it from that perspective, where it's still part of the sexual act, is an interesting perspective.
It's intimacy. I think I wouldn't say it's like the part of the sexual act. It's part of the intimacy.
You're still intimate with that, with your partner, with that person. Yeah, I think. And then another gentleman that I asked, he said he felt like when you are during the sexual experience, it's a very spiritual experience. It's two bodies getting together, but really it's two souls like uniting, becoming one. And he says, he feels that when he has the coffee the morning after, it's almost like he gets to get grounded, and the coffee grounds him a little bit, brings him back to this reality, because the night that he just had with his partner was, the coffee kind of just brings us back to this reality, to this physical realm. And I like that too, I think coffee, we talk about coffee connecting us with other people, but I also talk about coffee connecting us with ourselves, with our bodies. And it is a grounding medicine, Cacao is known as like the grounding because it makes you feel warm. But I think coffee allows us to meditate. Coffee allows us to connect with ourselves. So after having this night of spiritual connection, then coffee is like a way to get back to earth.
So like that's what it was funny because earlier you're like, I was talking about that. You're like,
I didn't know that word.
Concept?
Yeah.
So it is aftercare. Like that's what aftercare does. It grounds you after going on an erotic journey.
I like to say coffee is always included.
Coffee is always part of the equation. Yeah.
I've used that a few times, but I think coffee can be intimate. I think
it's an intimate moment
with yourself or with somebody. Correct.
Yeah. It's a beautiful plant. It's a plant medicine, really.
It is a plant medicine.
And unfortunately, we haven't been honoring it that way. And I think that it's time that we start remembering that.
Yeah. Much potential to be unlocked, to be tapped into.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Jose and we've talked about this already, but one of my dreams this year is, my birthday's on Saturday. And so
Happy early birthday.
In my birthday, the birthday is kind of like, it's like a new year celebration for yourself, for your life, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, what do I want this next? What are my intentions for this year of my life? What do I want to manifest and create into my reality? And one of them is I want to find, I'm just telling this onto the radio so it manifests.
Put it out there.
I want to find like an Ethiopian auntie who's like been trained in Ethiopia by her family or her lineage, like a lineage line of coffee ceremonialist.
By the divine feminine. It's only women who do this.
So I'm really excited about it. And they wear a white dress and have like a whole altar space with like herbs burning. And they do this whole journey with the coffee. And so I want to be initiated into offering coffee ceremonies. That's like one of my biggest. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, like 6 years, 7 years, something like that. And for some reason, I never thought about going to LA to look for somebody. I always thought I had to go to Ethiopia. So you helped bring that concept into the now reality by going to the dinner. So thank you. But yeah, so that's one of my like biggest joys, and to offer it to the community in like festivals and or just community events and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I mean, giving the intention. I mean, we talked about the aftercare, but I believe also coffee can be the pre, and it can lead to the sexual act, right? Getting back to this. So if you have a blind date.
It's the foreplay.
Like, oh, where is this going to lead? Like next time I meet this person, I mean, we just had coffee. Everything went great. Like, where is this going to lead to? Who is this person to me now? Like, am I excited to, meet this person again? So the fact that it's led by women, the fact that the intention is given, I think there's energy in that. I think we can tap into whatever we need to. And right now we're talking about sex, but one of the things that I noticed while running a coffee shop in Costa Rica is two strangers sit, meet, and sip, chat, and have a coffee. And those two strangers could turn up into a relationship, dating, intimacy, but it can turn out into, business relationship. They can sign a contract and one could be a landlord and the other one could be the tenant. It can be an interview and they could be, employer, employee. The world is created around coffee. We can end wars utilizing great communication over coffee. And actually that's part of the Ethiopian ceremony is to connect. People sit around, have the Ethiopian ceremony that is served by a woman, as you mentioned, and it's time for whoever's sitting in the ceremony to talk about their business, to talk about their issues, to talk about what's going on in their lives and what they need to fix and how that group, that intimate group, can be part of their lives and help them or support them or collaborate in some way. And at the end of the day, we realize we're not so strange. We're not strangers. Just have a cup of coffee.
I love this conversation. I love the intimacy conversation around coffee because I don't think we talk about that. Just like we don't talk about like the intentional aspect of it or the ritual of it or the health benefits of it. We don't talk about the intimacy of it. And it does create a lot of... The intimacy is so important. And like, yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And yeah, so thanks for being here.
Thank you.
To have this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be part of your growth and your path and in anything that I can do to support that. Hey, let's grab a coffee and let's continue co-creating.
I know today when we were walking around, everybody was trying to give us coffee.
How many coffees did we have?
I lost count.
Yeah.
Like long.
We went on a coffee marathon.
I was high on life on coffee. I was like up in the ethers. I kept saying, I'm like, wow, I'm so high. But I really loved it when like you were connecting with everyone. You're like, let's grab a coffee sometime. Let's grab a coffee. And I was like, oh wow, we're grabbing coffee on top of grabbing coffee.
People ask me all the time, what do you do? And I like to answer, my favorite answer is I talk to people and I drink coffee. That's it. I mean, then I can have a great conversation, meet a new person, befriend somebody. Yes, we can do business together. Yes, we can, strategize and create recipes, menus, whatever needs to be done. But there needs to be this medium. Coffee is this bridge.
It's a bridge to connection.
Yes.
That's what it is. Coffee is a bridge to connection. I love that so much. So I do want to talk a little bit about the world of coffee. So the world of coffee was originally the Specialty Coffee Association.
Correct.
But was it this year that they changed it to the world of coffee?
Correct. This year was the first year that it became the world of coffee. And
it was coffee farmers and coffee roasting machines, baristas and coffee everything.
Coffee shop owners, everybody in the industry just under one roof. A huge
having
convention center,
200 cups of coffee
for the 3 days nonstop. I call it the Coffeechella. It tends to be around the same time as Coachella, usually
actually
in April.
Coachella is this weekend.
It really happened on the same day. So we went to the Coffeechella.
We went to Coffeechella and there are just like thousands of people and people were selling coffee tree plants and there was every single possible thing that you could think of associated with coffee there today.
The biggest one is every April in the United States, and it's in a different state. So it just so happened to be San Diego, California this year. Last year was in Houston. Before that, it was, I believe, it was Chicago and Portland before that. And it just every year is a different location. Next year, New Orleans. Stay tuned. That's going to be another riot.
That'll be fun.
That'll be a good time.
Drinking a lot of coffee in New Orleans.
And good food and good people and a lot of fun.
What do you think was your highlight from World of Coffee?
I'm a people guy. That's actually my secret. Do I really like coffee? I love coffee, but I love the fact that coffee connects me with people. So the highlight is the same highlight that it is every year. And as I get to connect with people that maybe sometimes I only get to interact with them via email or via text message, or only when I go on origin trips and I go visit them at their farms, but to get everybody of the coffee industry under one roof and shake hands and realize we're all the same is the highlight for me each and every time.
So if somebody wanted to get your book and they wanted to read it, how would they do that?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
On Amazon, you look for A Way of Cafe.
A Way of Cafe.
By Jose Zambrano.
Zambrano. And then you have a website.
Yes.
Okay, so I asked you earlier this question. I'm going to ask you again. Why is it Call Me Jay?
Call Me Jay came about because it's an interesting story, actually, and I love it because when I was in high school, we go through different phases in our lives, and sometimes our name, can define that chapter in our life. So J, meaning Jose, is the first letter of my name. But maybe when I was in high school, I think I was called Jose Cuervo because I was a little bit of a party boy. And I remember when I opened up my Instagram for the first time, since my name is Zambrano with a Z, then I put myself as Mr. So Jay-Z would be, some people call me Jay-Z for my initials. And then when I started writing this book, I launched my brand, which is Call Me Jay. And I thought to myself, oh, this is an opportunity to reinvent myself or recreate myself. And instead of adding more letters, I just took all the letters off. J is just another letter in the alphabet. And obviously it stands for joy, it stands for Java, a cup of Java, a cup of Joe, stands for all my previous chapters in life, Jay-Z, Jose Cuervo. In Spanish, they call me Jose Osvaldo. That's my middle name, Jose Osvaldo, in Venezuela. That's what my family would call me. So it stands for all of that. And most importantly, it stands for anybody else who wants to join this movement of bringing consciousness, just like you and I are doing, Rose, through coffee, through rituals. It stands for, Call Me Jay is not one person, it's multiple people who want to join forces, get together, raise consciousness, be more mindful and intentional about all of our actions. My favorite quotes is that I like to remind myself is, how you do one thing is how you do everything in life. So if I can teach at least one person how to do extraordinary coffee, then you live an extraordinary life.
I love that. That's one of the things my book is all about, like your morning ritual and making sure that it's intentional so that you can bring that energy throughout the world, throughout the energy and everything. And so I know that you have offered your own form of coffee experiences, like coffee. Is it a coffee ceremony? Not an Ethiopian one, obviously, because that's for women, but like you put on intentional coffee experiences, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it can be intimate. It can be, a group of friends. Hey, they call me over and I have, coffee vessels or coffee infusion devices that I brought back from Costa Rica that were handmade in clay, for example. So it's all natural. And yes, I go into smelling the coffee and where's the coffee coming from. But as you were mentioning with the adaptogens or adding superfoods into coffee, then we could add a little bit of honey because, the intention behind that is that a bee works his whole life to give you something sweet.
I love bees.
So if we work hard, we get something sweet. Mm-hmm. So, or we can add flowers, as you were mentioning before we added flowers to our tea earlier today. We can add cinnamon, right? Because cinnamon, it helps with the digestion of sugar in our bodies. So getting back to the ceremonies, it can be an intimate scenario with a group of people. It can be a workshop where we could go in step by step on how to be more mindful during what you're already doing with your coffee experience. It can be coffee shop. If you own a coffee shop, if you own a restaurant, if you own a business and you need me to go in there and educate on there's four elements to making a great cup of coffee.
What are those?
The first element is the mezcla, or the blend is the espresso, whatever you're using for the beans, the type of coffee. So really good coffee. And, for espresso, it could be a blend. For pour overs or for any other methods of infusion, could be single origin, just one type of coffee beans or coffee seeds. The second element is going to be the grinder, right? So the grinder is going to grind your coffee adequately to whatever filtration device you're using. If it's espresso, it's tiny little filter, so it's going to be fine grind. If it's going to be coarse for a cold brew, or if it's going to be French press, it'll be more coarse than espresso, so on and so forth. And then the third is your máquina, And that's your method of infusion. It can be pour over, it can be French press, it can be espresso. So having that fine-tuned machine or equipment that you're going to infuse water with coffee grounds. And then the fourth element to making a great cup of coffee, as you would imagine, the human factor, la mano, the hand. And with that is making sure that we as the barista, or you as the person creating the coffee experience for yourself or for your family, friends, co-workers, whatever it is, A, you're making sure that the first 3 steps are taken care of. And B, if it's not perfect, you do it all over again. That's what we come here to do.
Try and try again.
Exactly. And then and give ourselves and those around us the ultimate coffee experience.
So I actually have similar in my book, but I added a few steps. I have the quality of the bean, the quality of the grind and how you grind it, what you use to brew it.
Yep.
But then also I put the superfoods in and all the tonics, and then like the type of milk, because I'm a big latte girl. I don't drink black coffee.
I love lattes.
I like the milks and the fats and everything. So yeah, a lot of people ask me, because I'm a sex coach, they're like, why are you writing a book about coffee? I actually started it 6 years ago before I was a sex coach. And if I'm going to give you guys listening, if you ever want to write a book, I'm going to just say, I wish I would have said this to myself. Don't, because it haunts you. It's been haunting me. It's like hangs out like a foot to the right of my head in the front, and it screams at me. It's like, finish me.
I think you're
bring
closer
me
than
into
ever.
the world. So if you want to write a book, only do it if you really are devoted to that book, because the artistry of it will haunt you until it's finished. So if they want to buy your book that is complete and ready to go, again, let us know what your website is and how to find you, because we've talked about a lot of things, and I would love for them to be able to find you and potentially work with you if you're in LA and wanting to do some sort of ceremony as well, correct?
Well, I'm international. So
you're an international.
Wherever you are, I come to you, you come to me, whatever works, we'll meet right in the middle.
Amazing.
We'll create some common ground and meet right in the middle. But yes, you can find me Instagram, callmej.world, website, callmej.world, www.callmej.world. And yes, Amazon, A Way of Cafe by Jose Zambrano. You're amazing, Rose. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those of you who are interested, I am taking on new clients right now. So reach out to me on roseheartsong.com, or you can reach out to me at Rose Heartsong on Instagram. And it's just been really, really fun. We're getting into the last few minutes of the call. So if there's any last minute things you want to share that are kind of like on your heart that you didn't feel like you got to share until now.
Thank you for, obviously this opportunity speaking with you, and I would love to do it again. This is amazing. This is the first time for me. I learned so much already. But yeah, I really love and enjoy the fact that we are creating this connection. The fact that you talk about sex on the radio already is amazing. We should be open to talking about sex. In general, everything should not be taboo. To create this connection between coffee and sex, and what does it mean? I mean, I think that's beautiful. So in life, I think we got to do that. We got to somewhat face our fears, get out of the uncomfortable, and create some magic and make it normal, and then see what happens after that. So other than that, no, I mean, I would love to be back, and let's make some magic together.
All right. Well, you guys out there, thank you so much for being on. This is Sex Ritual Radio with Rose Heartsong. Thank you so much, Jose. And I hope you guys have the most beautiful night, and I will see you next week.
I'm going to be real with you. I am so over sex being a taboo topic that we talk about. I am ready for conscious sexuality, spiritual sexuality to be a conversation in the room. I have been in so many rooms full of people. I share that I'm a sex coach, and people get awkward and shrink and get small around me. And I am so ready for that to be done. And it starts with you. In order to make this conversation bigger, this podcast gets to grow. In 2026, I am committed to impacting 100,000 people's lives with this, and I need your help. So would you please subscribe, leave a comment, share it on your Instagram story or text it to a friend. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you next week.